For the first 2 decades of my life, I lived in India. And like most people, I thought I was a pretty aware, pretty considerate person. You learn to adapt, to navigate the constant movement, the sheer volume of life around you. It's a certain kind of practical intelligence you develop just to get by. And then, at 22, I moved to Boston for my master's. And I realized that getting by sometimes meant I was missing something fundamental. It wasn't about the rules I knew, it was about the ones I didn't. Because for the first time, I was consciously thinking about civic sense. In India, our lives were deeply intertwined. Friends, family, neighbors, you're always part of a collective. This creates an incredible sense of community. But at the same time, the sheer scale of public life, the crowds, traffic, the constant activity meant that individual actions often felt insignificant in the face of it all. You learn to make small adjustments, to improvise. Someone needs a pass, you make space. The main road is busy, you find an alternate path. It's a spontaneous, reactive way of living. So things like a small piece of trash on the street or a bit of jostling in a queue, these weren't seen as deliberate disrespect. They were just part of the everyday flow. You focused on your own path and your own destination. My first semester in Boston was without a doubt the toughest phase of my life. I was dealing with a tiny budget, a difficult course load, and a gloomy basement apartment. In the middle of all that, even something as simple as taking the bus or navigating a park felt alien. I remember in the train watching people. No one was talking loudly on their phone. Everyone respected personal space. People would signal their stop and get off quietly. It was so different from the travel I knew, where getting on a bus or train could be a more physical, assertive act. Here, the system only worked because of 1,000 silent, invisible agreements between strangers. Agreements I knew nothing about. I wasn't just a student. I was an outsider who didn't speak the social language. So my experiment wasn't really a choice. It was a necessity for survival in this new environment. I started observing. I watched how people queued, how they held doors for each other, how they ordered coffee at Starbucks. It was a conscious effort to mimic, to learn, to fit into this new system. It initially felt incredibly inefficient, but slowly I realized it was the opposite. That's when it clicked. I realized that the constant need to navigate and improvise back home created mental friction I never knew was there. The noise of traffic, the anxiety of finding a space for yourself in a crowded train, the garbage thrown on the streets. You somehow get used to it and start accepting it. And I realized that civic sense is actually a form of environmental minimalism. It's about collectively agreeing to reduce the friction and chaos in our shared lives. When you wait for your turn, you remove the anxiety of having to fight for your turn. When you keep a space clean, you create visual calm for yourself and for others. It's not about restrictive rules. It's the radical idea that taking a small personal responsibility for our shared world, we actually free up more mental space and lower the collective stress. This isn't about saying one culture is better or worse than another. It's about recognizing that the mindsets which work beautifully in one context, like the spontaneity and close-knit community of India, need to adapt and evolve when you step into a different environment. The real lesson wasn't about where to throw my trash. It was about learning to see myself as a small but vital part of a much, much bigger society, where every tiny action has an impact.